The story of Prophet Lut. Prophet Abraham left the city of Babylon with his nephew Lut and Sarah. They traveled for many days in the desert. Prophet Lut then decided to go to the city of Sodom, which was on the western shore of the Dead Sea. This city was filled with wicked people. The people of the town were very bad and attacked the travelers passing by. Another common evil among the people of Sodom was that the men had relationships with other men instead of women. They were all gay people. No one had done such bad things before. This unnatural sin was later called sodomy, after the city of Sodom. The people did this sin without feeling any shame in front of everyone. It was during a time of many crimes and sins that Allah sent his messenger, Prophet Lut, to call the people back to him. The prophet asked the people to stop their bad behavior, but they were too involved in their sins and didn't listen to the prophet's teachings. Then Lut warned them about Allah's punishment. But they threatened to kick him out of the city if he kept preaching. The prophet was very sad when they continued with their way of life. The news of the bad men in Sodom spread throughout the land. The prophet kept trying to change their ways. Years went by, and the prophet continued with his mission. Only a few people, including some of his family members, believed in him. But even in his family, not everyone listened to his words, including one of his wives. With very few people believing in him, the prophet faced difficulties both inside and outside his home. His life was very tough, and he suffered a lot. But the prophet remained patient and strong with his people. Years passed, but no one was willing to listen to him. They even made fun of him by saying, "If what you're saying is true, then bring Allah's punishment to us." When the people refused to listen after so many years, the prophet finally lost hope in them. That's when Allah decided to send angels to destroy the bad people in Sodom. The angels took the form of humans and went to the house of Ibrahim. Prophet Ibrahim and his wife Sarah were very old at that time. He invited the angels to have food at his home, and they agreed. The prophet served roasted calf to the angels, but they didn't eat the food at all. When Ibrahim noticed that they weren't touching the food, he started to worry and became afraid of them. The visitors then told the prophet that they were actually angels sent by Allah. They informed him that Sarah would soon become pregnant and give birth to a child. The prophet and his wife were very happy to hear this news. The angels told the prophet that they should name their son Ishawak, and that he would grow up to become a prophet too. Then the angels walked toward the city of Sodom. They arrived at the town walls in the afternoon. Then they began walking towards the river. The first person to see the angels was Lut's daughter. She was sitting by the river, filling her jug with water. When she looked up and saw them, she was amazed. She had never seen such beautiful men in her life. She couldn't believe that such beauty existed on earth.
Do you know a place to rest?
One of the angels asked. "Stay here," she replied. She knew that if the bad men in her town saw them, they would try to harm the strangers. "Don't go inside until I tell my father," she informed them. She left her jug by the river and hurriedly ran to tell her father. "Oh, father," she cried. "There are 3 young and attractive men at the town gate. I have never seen such beautiful faces before." The prophet became worried and rushed to the town gate. He didn't realize that they were actually angels. He thought they were travelers passing by. "Where are you from?" the prophet asked. "And where are you going?" But they didn't answer his question. Instead, they asked if they could stay at his house. Lut was now in a difficult situation. He wanted to tell the strangers not to stay because of the bad people in the city without offending them, but at the same time he wanted to show them hospitality. He tried a few times to convince them, but they insisted on staying in the city. Finally, he told them to wait outside the town gate until nightfall, so that no one would see them. When it became dark, Lut went to the gate and escorted the strangers to his home. As the prophet had planned, no one saw them. When they reached his house, the prophet's wife saw them and quietly left the house. No one noticed her departure. She ran to her people and told them about the beautiful strangers at their house. The news of the strangers quickly spread. Everyone hurried to Lut's house to see them. Lut was surprised when he saw people coming towards his house. He wondered how they had heard about the strangers. And when he realized that his wife was missing, he understood that she was the one who had told the people. The prophet felt very sad that his wife betrayed them. When Lut saw the angry crowd coming towards his house, he quickly closed the door. He begged them to leave the strangers alone and warned them about Allah's punishment. The wicked people of Sodom laughed loudly when they heard the prophet's words, and they forcefully broke down the door. Lut tried to protect his guests, but was helpless against these violent people. He wished he had the power to save his guests. When the angels saw the prophet feeling hopeless, they revealed themselves to him. "Don't be afraid. We are the angels, and these people will not harm you," they assured the prophet. When the mob heard the angels, they ran away from the prophet's house, terrified. They insulted the prophet and hurried back to their homes. The angels then asked Lut to leave the town before sunrise. They instructed him to take everyone with him, except for his wife who had betrayed him. Lut left the city at dawn as the angels had told him. He took his 2 daughters, who were the only believers. When morning came, Allah began to destroy the most corrupt city on earth. First, he sent an earthquake that shook the city to the ground. It was as if a powerful force had lifted the entire city and slammed it down in one strong movement. Then he sent a storm of stones that rained down on the city. Everyone in the city was destroyed, including the prophet's wife. The city of Sodom was wiped off the face of the earth, and no one survived except the prophet and his daughters. Lut then went to visit his uncle Ibrahim. He told them about what had happened in Sodom, but Ibrahim already knew about it because the angels had informed him in advance. Lut continued to invite people to Allah, and so did Ibrahim for a very long time.
The end. Hope you have enjoyed the reading. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and find more fascinating and exciting stories from the description below the video.